Hey everybody, and welcome to Anime for Life. Today I am going to be bringing you the second video in a possibly series of videos that I've come to call Anime Showdown. And this is inspired by a very popular series from a very popular channel known as Screw Attack's Death Battle. And although I can't go quite nearly, actually, into depth as they can, I've always wanted to see matches of certain characters that I know will never get the love. And so I made the first one based off of Hercules and, from Fate and Blonde from Hyperdimension Neptunia, because both are basically smash first, ask questions later. And that was for my 100 subs video. Today, the two combatants are, one is very, very well known, Yuno Gasai, everybody's favorite Yandere Queen, and one who's probably a little less known, Naoko Kirino, who is from the manga series, currently doesn't have an anime, Pumpkin Knight. Both are highly, highly off their rockers, as you can probably tell. No need explaining most likely for Yuno. But Yuno is a Yandere, for anyone who doesn't know. And Naoko is what they call a Yangaire, which is somebody who just pretty much kills because they enjoy it. Now, the first one up is Yuno. She's 16. She's a female. Born November 16th. Both her hair and eyes are pink. She's on the shorter end at only 5'3". And like anybody who's ever seen Mirai Nikki, puts the yan in yandere. She wasn't originally as crazy as she was. She actually was, sane like anybody else. But unfortunately, her parents were not very loving, to say the least. Her mother was sick, and if I remember right, her father was an alcoholic. It's been a while since I've seen this series. And so they locked her up in a cage almost 24/7. They took their frustrations out on her. They beat her. They starved her a lot of the time. She was pretty much living in her own filth. And eventually, she killed her own parents, if I remember right. Then she went into the diary games, in which she participated and won. The issue with that was it was supposed to be a double suicide because she met her love interest Yuki, which is where her true psychotic nature shows up. The problem is when she didn't take the pill that was supposed to kill her, she got the powers of the time god, and then she learned she couldn't actually revive him, which was initially her plan. So she goes back in time into the next world, literally kills herself in the realest sense possible, takes her place, and then plans to do it properly this time and have a happily ever after. Yuno is a very, very skilled individual. She is extremely good in combat, hand to hand. She can deflect knives, darts, whatever, with just a single knife. And probably wouldn't even need that. She could probably just knock them away with her hands. She can use virtually any weapon, from guns to knives to axes to swords, you name it, she can use it. And she's even been known to be able to come up with stuff on the spot. Um, she's been able to get up and still fight even when severely wounded. So she's not easy to put down. And yeah, she's just crazy. And that alone has been able to help her in many situations. Because there's been times where she is kind of down and out, but then Yuki shows up and she fights with even more renewed vigor because she wants to impress Yuki. Like, her whole life is just Yuki, Yuki, Yuki. But as strong as Yuno is, she does have quite a few weaknesses. The biggest one being her diary. And there's a reason why it's called Diary Games. It's because her diary gives her the ability to do a lot of things. But that's also a double-edged sword in the fact that if it gets damaged or destroyed, she takes whatever damage the diary takes. So if it gets damaged, she'll get hurt. But if it gets destroyed, she'll die. And that goes for anybody who participates in the diary games. And as I've mentioned several times now, she's completely obsessed with Yuki. And that's gotten her into some bad situations before. And people have used that against her because they've learned that. And it's led her into some traps and sometimes situations even she's needed help out of. Despite her being the winner of the first diary games. But because she's so obsessed with Yuki, that's all she sees, all she thinks about. The whole reason she fights is because of Yuki. And they've learned that and used that against her. But they also typically pay for that in the end, too. Again, unless Yuki is present, her diary isn't much use to her. Because the only ability it really affords her is to basically tell her what Yuki is doing, where he is, how he's doing, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't afford her any real combat information, heightened reflexes, escape paths, none of that. It doesn't give her any true combat strategy. It's based solely on what Yuki is doing, where he is, and if he's okay. Yuki's phone is what allows him to, see what's going on around him in a small radius. So if they're together, they can actually be a very, very, very hard team to deal with because their abilities complement each other. He can tell her what's going on, and she can make sure he's protected. So together, they are quite the powerful team. But if they're separated from each other, they don't really do much on their own. Yuki can sort of fight because it tells him what's going on in the area, but hers is virtually useless because it simply tells her what Yuki is up to. She has a number of feats. First and foremost, she's the winner of the Diary Games. She literally killed herself and took her place without affecting the timeline, which a lot of people will say that even the smallest ripple can destroy and completely change the course of history. Hers didn't do that. There's been multiple times where she's been attacked by multiple people, even with like guns, and she's killed them and come out unscathed or nearly unscathed. She's fallen into bodies of water and been electrocuted and come out. She's fast enough to get out of an area where there's multiple explosions going on and the place is falling down around her. because she won the Diary Games, she became a god of time. So she can actually, that's why she was actually able to go into the next world, is because she can actually manipulate time space. This one is more a reality thing rather than her own series, but she has become so popular among the anime community that she has been dubbed the queen of all yanderes in anime. And because of her yandere expressions, such as what is shown here, she has been dubbed the Yandere Queen, which I suppose I just said. But because of that, she's also become a meme queen of sorts, because it's inspired countless memes of just superimposing or just drawing other characters from other famous series, just using her expression on them. And it can make some pretty funny artworks and memes. So that pretty much sums up Yuno. But the last little thing about Yuno to know is that her ability to manipulate time space has never actually been used for any combative use. She did use it on Yuki to trap him in basically a dream realm, basically to forget her when their relationship after they sealed the deal, so to speak, basically fell through. And she wanted him to have a happy ending and forget about her. And she went to the third world to try and again restart it and basically do things over. But aside from that, she has never shown any form of combative use or strategy with her power. She's only been shown to make, illusionary or go from one realm to the next. She's never been shown to be able to freeze time or anything like that. She may be able to, but she's never been able to show. Now, on to Naoko. Naoko is straight up batshit crazy. Like, if you think Yuno was nuts, she's got nothing on Naoko. She's 17, also female, born February 15th. Her hair and eyes are brown. She's a little taller than Yuno in that she's 5'7", and she's got a damn fine taste in music. She originally was a very happy, very positive, honest girl. She actually, like Yuno, has a very, very tragic past. And honestly is pretty much relatable to almost everybody. Because she was bullied beyond what should be possible. All because she really didn't care what people thought. She did her own thing and didn't care, right? And it was mostly because of the big red bow that she wore. And she loves all things Halloween, and her bullies knew this. And because of her personality of just, going with the flow, doing what she liked to do, they figured, you know what, let's play a prank on her. And so when the pumpkin pageant called Pumpkin Night came around, they decided, let's nominate her to be the pumpkin night, or basically the prom queen of the Halloween pageant. The thing is when she took the stage and she won, is they laced the pumpkin mask with sulfuric acid packs and flammable material. I believe it was fireworks. And so when she put it on, the fireworks went off and the sulfuric acid packs burst, setting her hair on fire because of the hairspray and basically melting her face. And she couldn't get this thing off. But all the people did was laugh at her. They didn't care. But when she finally did manage to get this thing off and her face was burnt and melted beyond recognition, they're like, oh crap, we gotta cover this up. So the main conspirator, Naruto Kuroki, got his father, who was a very corrupt, high-end politician, I believe he was actually the mayor of the city, decided, like, you know what? Let's just send her to this mental asylum and just say, yeah, she was nuts, crazy, she did this to herself. Sweep it under the rug, just get her committed, and we can just forget this ever happened. And her torture didn't stop there. It just got worse for her. She endured, experimentation, physical torture every single day. And she even experienced, like, just, what can, just the worst. But eventually she escaped. And when she did, she swore bloody vengeance. And she didn't care how she was going to do it or who had to pay the price along the way, whether you're guilty or innocent. She was going to get it. Now on to her abilities and strengths. She's a very quick thinker. When she got one of her victims, she basically electrocuted them and basically made them look like the same way she did. Very burnt, very mutilated, basically like herself. The problem is this caused a power surge. And by this point, on her escape, she actually murdered a lot of people. So she already had made herself infamous. And so with the power surge, people were kind of alerted to this. And she's like, oh crap, I could be caught. So what she did is she actually took the victim's own place and laid there right on the table, right in front of everybody. And they thought that she was actually her victim. And she avoided capture that way. She is an expert at fear tactics. And she will go out of her way to spread as much fear as possible to the point that she actually got on the news. And the whole city was being told who she was, or at least by her moniker, Pumpkin Night, and what she was doing. And she was just rejoicing in this. She's very, very durable to the point that one point in the story, she was thought to be dead because of an accident she suffered. But she actually, later on, you find out, she survived and clawed her way out of her own grave and went right back to what she does best, and that's getting brutal revenge. She's very, very good at planning ahead. And she shows that by making an account on their version of Twitter and following each and every one of her intended targets, which were her bullies and the ones who got her committed in the first place. And she made a plan on each and every one of them on how she was going to go about this. And any form of little, hiccup that happened along the way, she was able to easily adapt to and work around. It didn't stop her at all. And she's very, very good at using weapons, explosives, improvised or not, just like Yuno is. She can use shotguns, knives, spears, homemade spears, whatever. You name it, she's used it. She is virtually immune to physical torture and pain because of the experimentation. And as you can see here, she actually quotes Queen by saying, "Scaramouche, Scaramouche, will you do the fandango?" And this is when she is in the asylum and they're trying to basically get her to talk, but she won't. In fact, she's getting off on it. It even says she's enjoying it, and her vitals are completely calm, completely normal, and they're just like, what the hell is wrong with this girl? Because she's been at it for 2 hours, and not once did she even so much as moan or whimper, let alone screaming in pain. But she does have weaknesses, just like anybody. And it's she doesn't always keep a close eye on her surroundings, and she can be distracted. It's actually stated that it's implied in the series that she may have attention deficit, and that is shown that when her love interest is around, who I unfortunately can't remember the name of right now. I should have looked that up. He's got a kind of out there name. But when he's around, and when he did profess to her, she got completely distracted. And that is actually what got her in a lot of trouble and got her tossed from the building, which led to her quote unquote death. As just stated, she's virtually immune to any form of physical pain or torture. You're just going to get laughed at from her. But it is implied that the opposite is effective on her. She is afraid of things that might make her feel good or happy. Because she's all about inspiring fear and scaring the hell out of you. But if she's not used to feeling emotions of enjoyment or happiness or anything like that, when you're feeling happy, you're much more prone to doing what somebody else wants. Or at least that's what my take is. As I said, it's the latest chapters, so they haven't really revealed too much on that yet, so I can't really say much. It's my own speculation, really. She's also very, very brutish and sloppy in how she does things when she actually finds her target. She's very good at planning on how to get to them and what she will do. But when she actually gets to them, she's just, I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm just going to slaughter you. And I'll worry about what happens later. So she doesn't put much thinking into what she is going to do once she actually finds her target. And that again has sometimes gotten her into bad times. And has kind of got her lured into precarious situations as well. And if she's against somebody who can think clearly, that could possibly be used against her. Her feats would include being able to endure unimaginable torture and experimentation, as shown from the time in the asylum. Her shock treatment went for 2 hours on the maximum settings, and she didn't even let out so much as a whisper or a moan, whereas the person in charge of it has said this should have made a large man scream in agony. But she just got off on it. She not only survived falling from a 20-meter construction building onto a bunch of I can't say stakes, but whatever those metal rods, let's call them. She fell onto those and basically impaled herself in 4 different places. She survived that, but then after being buried because they thought she was dead, she clawed herself out after being buried for 4 days. On her initial escape from the asylum, she killed more than 69 people alone. After her escape from being buried, she then garnered the love and respect of criminals and loners alike around the entire world. Sorry, because she worked as a vigilante for a while, and she basically was taking down corrupt politicians and just bad people in general. And she was just as ruthless and violent with them. Um, as stated earlier, she got away with murder by literally playing dead um, as the victim she'd just taken out. She was riding a motorbike going after one of her targets, and she literally stopped to grab hold of her shotgun and fired it while driving this motorbike, balancing herself with only one leg. But not only was she balancing it, but she was also driving it at the same time with that said leg. So, I don't even know if that would be physically possible considering the blowback of the shotgun. Like, I've fired shotguns and those things kick like a mule. And keep in mind, she was keeping up with this car too. So, she had been going pretty damn fast on that motorbike as well. She's also quite witty and has a sense of humor. But it's quite dark. For instance, she used the little tagline of the Red Bull brand where she says, Red Bull gives you wings. Well, she said, I hope you like Red Bull because your head's going to get wings to one of her victims. And that downright terrified them to the point where they just couldn't move. And she's done that on numerous occasions. So her wit and humor alone can stop people in their tracks. And she's done it numerous times. So, in conclusion, you got two psychos going against each other. Who do you think would win? Do you think Naoko, who's virtually immune to any form of physical pain and torture and can claw herself out of the grave, can literally come back from the dead? Or do you think the Yandere Queen, who's literally killed herself and taken her own spot? Who do you think would win in the end? My bet is actually kind of on Naoko, just because of how durable she is, and the fact that despite Yandere, Yuno's time manipulation abilities, she's never actually shown to have used them in a real fight. And any of Yuno's abilities, Naoko is shown to be able to do the same things. Both are masters of weapons. Both can think ahead. Both are highly durable. And I would say Naoko has actually shown far more impressive feats of durability than Yuno has. The only real thing I would say Yuno has over her would be her time manipulation. But because she's never shown to have any combative use of it, I don't know if that would come into play. But that's why I leave it to you guys, and why I kind of don't say, oh, they would win. I like to leave it to you and what your opinions would be. So who do you think would win? Naoko? Or everybody's favorite Yandere Queen, Yuno Gasai? I will leave it to you. And if you enjoy this, I may consider making another one. I enjoyed making both this one and the last one. And I've actually already kind of got an idea of what I might make for a possible third one. The last one got almost 700 views and did get quite a few more likes than what I'm used to. So if you do like this one, comment who you think would win, and subscribe. That's the best way to show you like it. And until then, keep enjoying anime and anime for life.